Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow, where dancers cavort in forbidden operas, making love to forgetting and flame, where the wealthy play at war with silver swords and silken sashes, where the people mine the dead heart of a burning star for cannonballs and pipework, and where 1,000 secrets hide in a forest of paper and ink. Here, the 5 keybearers reside, the 5 who know the secrets of the broken gates of death. 5. 5 only. There is no 6th spire, forlorn and forgotten in the desert. There is no one who looks to the displaced, the poor and destitute and landless, whose ancestry has been stripped from them by foreign looms and foreign sparkcraft, and no one has ever heard of the House of Ending. But this is their story. Their roots pulled up and burned, they stand in filth up to their necks, and that is precisely why they must keep their heads ever high. Welcome to Uduasha, immigrant. May it fear the name of the house you will build. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about characters with their identities in peril, played by an international cast devoted to fiction-first gaming, collaborative world-building, and complex character drama.
Now recording.
Yes, there we
Shit,
go.
now recording.
Perfect.
That was a second too late.
Yes, it's
Just for
fine.
the record.
We'll just remember in the edit that you are 1 second out of sync. This is
Exactly.
fine.
I've said it in the recording, so
Yes.
make a note of it.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's all fine. It's let the record state.
Yes.
Excellent. Off to our swinging start.
You're swinging?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Oh, everyone did find some portraiture.
Yes.
How lovely.
Except Aadiyat. Well, Aadiyat also has it, but he hasn't switched to it.
Yes.
Why, are you ashamed of it, Aadiyat?
No, I don't know how to do it. I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh,
I'm
it's
ashamed
down.
of not. I'm ashamed of not knowing how to do it.
So, underneath the chat,
Yeah.
there's
Roll
as.
Oh, I see. Oh,
Yes.
that looks terrible. Okay.
Perfect.
Oh,
Wow.
There's your taxidermied face.
Yeah.
It looks like James Brown wearing a tiger mask.
It does. Yes.
Okay.
oh,
so
anyone else wearing a tiger mask?
No, look at the afro.
Indeed.
head canon that your character looks like James Brown.
I was gonna
Excellent.
say he has messy curly hair, but
Yeah.
sure.
No, he looks like
Mhm.
James Brown. Yeah. He even dresses like him.
Amazing.
I'll switch to something else. I guess.
No, it's fine.
I mean,
This is great. I just like that you have a slightly strange tiger mask. It's a thing now.
no, I'm keeping the tiger mask from the character, but
yeah.
just like this picture was okay in isolation, but I mean, especially next to trees, kind of almost like migrant mother-esque portrait over there. This is almost offensive. Let me try to find a better portrait.
So, crew creation, everybody. Choose a crew type. We settled on
decided
Bravos.
Bravos.
but-
Yeah.
Salon Bravos, yeah.
Okay. We have also acquired a lair, which I believe is Mom's boarding house. Remember what's the name of the mom again? Have you named her?
Moonlit Ankatam.
Moonlit Ankatam, or
Mhm.
Mom.
Yes.
Yes.
Mother of half the crew and owner of the boarding house. And presumably the boarding house is also your crew's lair, but tell me, is it different? Is it your mom's basement that is the lair?
Mom's basement. What do you guys think? It feels like Moss wouldn't necessarily want to be there, no?
No, I feel like she wouldn't necessarily want to be there. I also think it's interesting if she's forced to. Like Mom is still a contact that we have that is able to like provide shelter, and it might simply be practical no matter what she feels about it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't think it's the boarding house itself because it's very inconvenient to run criminal activities and have people who pay you rent to live with you at the same time. But maybe it's some sort of building attached to it, like a shed or a basement or
Mhm.
something like this. Anyone have an idea?
I like the idea of a tea house.
Yeah. Like as for the boarding house, I think it does make more sense like for that to be just a place where like Mushfik is just crashing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
have a separate.
Maybe the lair should be wherever the rising moon was, right? We just turned up and we're squatting there now.
But like so that's another thing. Do they still exist? Is that still a faction that exists?
I think no. I think no. If we're
Yeah,
going
this
with,
is my-
with it was destroyed and you are the heirs to it, then I mean it exists kind of, but it's you. So like
So it's
Yeah.
wherever their impromptu school was.
yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe it has in fact been demolished and probably claimed by some other squatters. So we have like some random. We have like a tenth of whatever it used to be, which was never impressive to begin with.
So it's in Bundervest, I believe. We did establish that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think an interesting thing for it to be then is, have we said anything about Bundervest's architecture?
Just that it's got docks, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's got docks, it's got a fortress. It used to be prosperous, and now it is basically just fallen on hard times. And then there's a section devoted for essentially refugees and so on. Like that was always the
Mhm.
purpose of the place.
Yeah. So maybe before the thing was a school, maybe it was some sort of workshop for farming equipment.
That's the thing, because one of the Rising Moon schools description turf things is basically they have like they used to have backyard smithies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe the
Mhm.
lair you're in is a former backyard smithy. It may not have a lot of things in it. It may not, in fact, be a workshop anymore, but that's what it used to be.
Smithy in Bundervest.
Smithy and Bundervest, excellent. I'm not taking notes, just
I am
FYI.
taking notes.
Excellent. So Old Smithy and Bundervest is your lair. Excellent. And what about your reputation?
Unless anyone has strong ideas for reputation, I would prefer to leave it blank and actually find our reputation after when we get XP for it.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to fill it out
Sure.
now then.
Yeah, because I have never found any. Every single time I played Blades and we have established a reputation, that's not what we ended up having even after the end of the first score.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, totally fair. So no reputation is
Mhm.
what we have. Then we establish our hunting grounds. You have chosen a small part of the district as your hunting grounds, which is probably like the area between the smithy and the moonlit Ankatam's boarding house, pretty much, I imagine.
Mhm.
It depends on how big our hunting grounds can be, because I could say hospitality gote, but is that too big?
I think that's too big, yeah.
It's
I
this
think it's
specific neighborhood.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's
And
establish it then.
Maybe then it should be like the immediate environs of the boarding house.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like basically the area between the boarding house and the smithy. Like they're at the opposite ends. So, they're on the same street and that street is yours.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Little
Uh-huh.
Ankatam.
Mhm.
Little Katam.
Little Katam. Yes, perfect. Little Katam is your hunting grounds. It's in the
Yeah.
hospitality ghetto. It's even smaller. And which faction claims the area? And what do you do with them? I have an idea, but you may also present ideas for who claims this part of town.
Do we have the Catrici as just a general faction?
Yes, we do.
And I assume they would be the
Yeah.
ones then, right?
What I was going to say is I think the people who claim this area is the Falconers, actually. They live in a fortress in Bundervest overlooking it. They are a group of, warrior caste of soldiers drawn from the poorest of the poor in ages past.
I think that's the Farsoon.
Oh, that's the Farsoon, yes.
Yeah, the Falconers are basically the inspectors, sort of. But yeah.
Oh, they are not on the faction list. I go
I'm
confused.
going
The
to put them
Falcon.
There are the four
Fal-
sun.
Okay.
I
The
don't know if that's
Falconers do not
Yep.
live in Falcon's Perch, then.
on. Yes, it's a
Okay.
bit confusing. Yep.
That
We
is
can work it
actually
out later.
slightly confusing.
We can work it out.
I just
They
noticed
have like,
that.
their offices there as well, but like
Yeah.
the Falcons, the Farsoon are the warrior caste. The Falconers are basically the inspectors, cop people.
Okay.
So wait, the say that again?
Okay, so the Farsoon are a warrior caste. They're basically the army,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're also used essentially to do what the Bluecoats would do, to actually go out and like break up riots and so on, and actually arrest people. The Falconers are the people who are the actual lawmakers, the detectives, and so on, who direct the Farsoon to do all that.
Okay, so they're
I
more
see.
like the inspectors. Either way, I was
Yes.
thinking the people who own Falcon's Perch as interesting, a faction that you could have offended, because just like it seems to make sense, right? They kind of run this district. They probably don't
Yes.
appreciate you doing private security, and we didn't involve them at all in the first season. So
Yeah, I'm okay with this. I like this. I expect that they're in here all the time, looking for terrorists, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the Farsoon then. Then is the question: have you paid them off, giving them 1 coin in exchange for giving you room to work, or have you given them 2 coin to gain status with them, or do you just keep your money and take -1 status with them? Like, what do they think of you?
It is my belief that we will not give them any money at all.
That's
So-
my instinct as well. Fuck these guys.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting question because I have never heard during crew creation any other answer. Every
I
single
have.
time I've played Blades. Oh, have you?
Yeah,
I
That's
have.
interesting.
So,
But-
how do you pronounce them again? Is it Farsoon or Fursan?
So I keep making the mistake, but it is Farsoon.
Farsoon. Okay. So the Farsoon are. You have -1 with them. Excellent. I'll put that on the faction sheet. They don't like you very much. So these are basically our local cops that you have a poor relationship with, and they're not exactly cops, but close enough.
No, it turns out I made a mistake. It is in fact Fursan. Jesus Christ.
Fursan. Okay, then we should change
Fursan.
that on the. We have
Yes.
spelled them differently across all of the documents.
Yes, I believe there are like at least 3 spellings in the various documents, and I keep forgetting
Okay.
which one there because Fursan is not intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Faris
is just the plural.
Fursan. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is the plural of Faris.
Yes. Okay. Root. Arabic roots, presumably tripping us
Yes.
up. Fursan are. So to recap, because this was very confusing, you live in Bundervest in Little Katam, which is basically one street where your mother holds court in her boarding house, where you have a little smithy to meet for nefarious purposes. And the Fursan, the local law enforcement, are not very fond of you. And you have not bothered to bribe them or make friends with them, despite the fact that Falcon's Perch, which is one of their fortresses, looms above your little street.
We just don't have a lot of money,
Yeah. You live literally in their shadow. So excellent.
Yes.
So this is your turf under the watchful eye of the Fursan. Take a special ability for your crew is the next step.
It is usually my belief that if you don't have any strong ideas either way, then the action dots are ideal. The action dot ability.
The one that allows you to take 3 or 4, right?
Yes. 3. Just the 3, never 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called dangerous in this instance.
Mhm.
Do you have a cohort? I guess we'll get to that.
Yes, we do. It comes
Mhm.
comes with the Bravo sheet.
Yep. So you're going with dangerous then?
Unless anyone has any other ideas.
Yeah, makes sense.
Quickly reading. I
Fair
think
enough.
it's a good one, yeah.
All right, everyone, assign your bonus dots.
So we get 1 in one of these 3.
Yeah.
Hunt, skirmish, or wreck.
Excellent.
Just for reference, what is everyone taking? I've taken another dot in skirmish because my old lady is unlikely to be wrecking.
I've taken another dot and hunt. I've decided that Moss is very bad at fighting, but she can hunt and like shoot.
I am taking another one in skirmish.
Excellent. Very good. And now we get to the interesting part of assign crew upgrades.
Hmm. Should we talk about our existing cohort first?
Yes, you do start with a cohort. That is true. By default, you start with a cohort and training prowess. That's it.
Yeah. So this cohort, who are they? Because it's like 2 people, since they're skill 0.
Okay. Are they disciples of the Rising Moon, or are you guys the last one remaining?
I think it makes sense for there to be a few more people. Like, for example, one of my character contacts is Mona.
Yeah, although I get the feeling that the old Rising Moon school is a little bit split up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It-
and
There's
I
2
don't think
people.
I don't think these people are especially badass.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're like just,
Novices.
normal. Yeah.
Mhm. And they are thugs, so they can fight, but little else.
So we established that Bidrohi was in fact also a novice, but
Yeah.
perhaps like because he is well, we didn't establish this we established this in between sessions, but Bidrohi is in fact Ramu's son. So establishing that. So whether or not it runs in the blood or he's just like naturally talented or whatever, he is a very good novice. But perhaps the other 2 are like regulars, really, like nothing particularly special.
So Ramu is the former leader of the Rising Moon School, a martial artist who is now dead. He was kind of a
We saw him.
jackass. You don't mourn him.
Mhm.
And you are his son, and these other 2 cohorts are just his previous apprentices.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm imagining them as kind of like farmer types who like a brawl, maybe.
I'm going to
Like a-
name them.
Mhm.
Are they former farmers? Is what I'm asking.
I
Yes,
think
I
they
think so.
are.
Okay,
Yeah.
much like the rest of you. And
Mhm.
yeah, give them some names.
Pilot and Bald Murad.
Very good.
Pilot and Bald Murad. Okay,
Yes.
Bald Murad
Is
is
Bold
one group.
Murad? Yeah, is Bold Murad bold?
Yes.
Confirming.
Very good.
Dare I ask whether pilots has ever piloted anything?
He pilots this bed.
Uh-huh.
Oh damn.
He's put wheels on it and rides it down the street for sport.
I imagined maybe he was not only a farmer but also somebody who like brought stuff that had been found elsewhere on a boat.
Yes.
Let's say that pilot is a woman and Bald Murad is.
All right.
I mean, Bald Murad can also be a woman, but yeah, it's Murad.
Okay.
Mhm.
Pilot and Bald Murad. Okay.
Yeah, she, her, and he, him.
Yep. And what are the edges and flaws of this cohort?
I feel like
Loyal?
yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I was actually gonna say maybe one of the edges is that sorry, one of the flaws is that they are like they remember what the old school was like, so they're constantly judging us.
I would feel.
But it could be the opposite.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is like, if they decided to stick with us, they must have a reason for that, right? Because everyone else just fucked off.
Yeah.
I figured that reason was violence, but yeah.
How they can do violence on by themselves, but like, yeah, that was my feeling. But we can go with
Sure.
your
Yeah,
idea.
I mean, I'm not against that. Yeah.
Okay, so they're loyal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It sounds
what
like
is
it's a good old edges, flaws, loyal.
Yes.
Very good.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So they're loyal, but they're not very. I guess they're not very good at taking their own initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I'm
And they're
trying
also
to.
and they're also loyal to the old guy. Perfect.
Yeah, so edges, loyal, flaws, loyal to Ramu.
Uh-huh. Good.
Oh, docile is the word that I was trying to find.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I
These
do
are
like the
sword
idea.
fighters.
This puts some interesting stress on Bidrohi because it means that your cohorts are loyal to your dead dad, not necessarily to you. But you
Yeah.
know, with the way inheritance works, they kind of have to stick by you now.
Yes, I have inherited two people.
Yes. Excellent. You also get 2 additional upgrades to your new crew.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I feel like weapons should definitely be one.
Weapons,
Yeah, that makes sense.
quality weapons.
Yeah, I would like quality, tier, and so on to matter quite a bit in this campaign.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you have quality weapons.
I think it would be I don't know how useful it would be, but it would be interesting if we actually just had a level 1 vault when we started, because we managed to secure the part of the lair that has the vault in it.
Sure.
But I mean, this is just a
Yeah, the other thing that would make sense is to mark quarters for the boarding house, but maybe it's funnier not to mark that and not have reliable housing, right? It's not in your
Yeah.
lair, so yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the one that, I mean, so weapons and workshop, they can both flow from the fact that we have an old smithy.
Mm-hmm. But I was thinking it's kind of fun if you don't mark workshop and the thing just isn't, you know, in any shape to make anything.
True.
I think one of the reasons that I like Vault actually is that it gives our layer a bit more character.
Yeah.
Layer.
Yeah.
Is it tells us a little bit about like where exactly like we ended up managing to grab for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Weapons and vault, excellent. Mm-hmm. And having grabbed the upgrades, when you assign your new 2 upgrades, the GM will tell you about 2 factions that are impacted by your choices. One faction helped you get an upgrade, one faction was screwed over when you got an upgrade. It says I'm suggesting these, but you are totally free to suggest them. I feel like you should have some sort of relationship with the Falling Star school, though, the other sword school in Uduasha. So I feel like they can be
Yes.
related to the weapons here. It's up to you whether they like you or they dislike you for having weapons.
So one of my rivals is an Ustad of the Falling Star School. This doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean that like the school as a whole doesn't like us.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the case that I am not very well liked by Jay Clev.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we managed to like leverage a favor in order to get them to give us like a gift of weapons. And then it's the kind of like politicking where, oh yeah, we got the favor, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they wanted to give us the weapons, right? It was more like we embarrassed them into it.
Okay, so it sounds like they got screwed over when you got an upgrade, and you have the option to spend 1 coin and just have them kind of dislike you because it was a bad deal, or not spend the coin and start out with -2 with the Falling Star, and they just don't think you have a right to those weapons at all.
Oh man. Wouldn't
I
it be
think
funny?
that's how you're framing it, right? Either you bought it from
Yes,
them and they
that
now
is-
regret the sale, or you just kind of not maybe stole them, but got them without their approval.
Yeah,
But I
correct.
think we still don't have money, so
You start with
it
2
sounds
coins.
like
You start
but
with
we
2
don't
coins.
have, we start technically with 2 coin, but like flavor-wise,
Yeah.
it seems unlikely to me that we bought a bunch of really good weapons.
Sell him.
Unless
So
Ramu
wait.
did it. This could be a holdover from his
This
days.
is true.
So what I'm thinking is
Mhm.
that the Falling Star are the creme de la creme of sword fighters in
Yep.
Uduasha.
Mhm.
So any weapons they have are definitely not quality 1, quality 2
No.
weapons, right? So I think it's much more a case of like us having weapons and us being a sword school. Like we are not officially one, so I think it's a bit more like we are encroaching. We're like upstart. We're like
Yeah.
upstarts.
Yeah.
And not just because we're a sword school, but because we're basically a bunch of peasants who like smash together a bunch of like sides and turn them into swords and so on. So we're like a parody of what they,
Yeah.
in their idea, in
Yeah.
their view.
So then the question is, do you have -2 or -1 with them? I feel like -2 implies that they actually actively dislike you, whereas -1 is they just sort of despise you. So
So sorry. Who are we talking about as our?
the Falling Star School, the actual swordsmen of Uduasha, they
Right.
you have weapons, they have an opinion about you because of those weapons. We have surmised
Well-
that the opinion is negative, but
Remind me. So there were two ancient schools, right? There's the Rising Moon and the Falling Star.
Mhm.
One of them is Ketrisi, and the other is like
Uduashan.
Uduashan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
And the falling star is Uduashan. So
okay.
you guys are basically the Rising Moon school. You're like what's left of it after Ramu died. So
Yes. Okay. So the question then is, do they just kind of dislike us, or are they actively coming after us?
yeah,
Mhm.
pretty much.
Mm.
What do you think? Do you want to spend a coin to have them just kind of dislike you, or are we saving that coin and they hate you?
So in character, my character will absolutely refuse to pay them. Out of character, I think it's a good idea to not start with -2 with them, because I feel like we will go to -2 soon enough anyway.
Yeah.
I
feel like
and I would
it
prefer for
just-
that not to be -2 to -3 so
Yeah.
early.
I think it also just kind of makes sense that they don't hate you because you're not that important. So
Yeah.
let's mark
Yeah.
-1
We
with
are
them.
not a threat to them.
Let's mark -1 with them and treat
We
that as
might
having
even
spent
want
the
to be
coin
friends with
multiplied.
them. We shall see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Okay.
we are not permitted to be friends with them. Jay Clev, absolutely, I hate him. Yeah, I'm not clear why yet, but it is a deep-seated feeling.
Hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, but he and I, we're bros.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I
Yes.
guess I'll have to learn the both of you some
Yeah.
manners.
And okay, you can veto this and pick a different faction, but I think
Uh-huh.
the other upgrade you have is a vault. And who helped you get a vault? And I want to suggest that it is the Foundation because they build things, right? And maybe they had a job to install a door and a good relationship with you.
I want to veto this because I think we're
Yeah.
well beneath their notice.
Really, the Foundation is listed as tier 1 here, but fair
Yeah,
enough.
but it's a bunch of like dilettante,
Mhm.
dilettantes from like
Fair enough.
expats and
Who
all
else could have helped you with a vault? Mr. Rohini, the bureaucrat?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
could
could
be.
have. Yeah, I mean, they know all of the secrets. I'm just looking at the list, same as everyone else. I figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm thinking, and we can still go with Mr. Rainey, but what I'm thinking is that it's less about someone giving us the vault because we established that the vault was already there.
Yeah.
It's more like someone wants that vault.
Yeah, but this is a person you have a positive relationship with, though.
That's true. That's true.
So I was thinking it could be Mr. Rohini, just because, like, someone, again, this is probably Ramu. This is not you. This is the previous occupant of the place, right? But maybe Ramu actually properly filed and applied for
to have a
a
vault.
building permit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's very funny, actually. Yeah.
And Mr. Rohini kind of likes you because, if nothing else, just because he feels he has a hold over you. He knows you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Rohini is also an incredibly shadowy faction. It's one man inside the bureaucracy that no one really knows who he is, but who is capable of pulling a lot of strings. And it could be that
In
he finds you valuable. It's kind of good to have a small crew with a bolt hole.
Yeah.
You know?
I just wanted to point out here, because I wrote this faction, and I deliberately, like, Rohini is a very feminine name.
Okay.
And it's kind of like calling somebody Mr. Alice, right? Like,
yes.
I did it on purpose to be like, this person is deliberately obfuscating everything about themselves. And this is not to say that, like, you can't use he him pronouns for him, but it's that, like, actually everybody in, like, who knows about this person just about knows that this person exists, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's not even a shadowy man. It was because of the Mr. name there. But yes,
No,
It
exactly.
is a shadowy.
Yeah.
It is an unknown person. It may not even be one person by the faction description. It's just
Exactly.
kind of a faction
Yeah.
inside the bureaucratic officers of Nagasaranya.
Yeah, this is what I liked about it.
Every time you create a document referring to Mr. Rohini, you have to create another copy with a different pronoun, and then another one with a different pronoun.
Yes. Well,
You
fair enough.
have to,
So,
it's 8 of them, in fact,
Yes.
as previously established. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Go on.
Rohini has 1 status with you. You may spend 1 coin to repay their kindness and take +2 with them instead. And again, I think the reason this faction likes you is mostly because it's very useful to have an unknown crew where they have a vault and no one else does. But maybe you can pay a coin to have this relationship be more intimate than that.
So again, this is totally in character, and I don't want to push this on the crew, but like, Mr. Rohini is also on my contact list as the person who got me the one load form that I have.
Ooh.
And it could be kind of fictionally interesting to kind of say that like we paid, for the good relation or whatever, but that was also a payment to like I got the form in, right?
Yeah.
Like that was
And
because
then
it's
we
not an
start
easy form to get.
And then we start with 0 coin, which is also interesting. So
Yeah. But again, I don't want to push that on the crew. So if the crew feels like it would be nicer to just have the coin, that's totally fine.
No, I think it's fine. I also think it's very amusing that this gang of bravos, like immigrants and so on, their first +2 relation is with a shadowy bureaucrat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense. We
Uh-huh,
need to
yeah.
we need to have our papers in order.
Okay.
Shit. No!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a shadowy bureaucrat as your friend. You have the Falling Star School as your kind of enemies, as well as the Fursan. And
Are we establishing that Bidrohi has to report to the Ministry of Interior every second week? Oh shit.
I think if
Yes.
Uduasha was managed anywhere remotely near competently, I think probably there is a paper somewhere saying that you have to, but considering Uduasha bureaucracy is established as being terrible,
It's a stranglehold. So
yeah.
Not only does Bidrohi have to report to the Ministry of the Interior every other week, there is a monthly inspection by the people in charge of like making sure the building code is fine, and probably like a quote unquote surprise inspection by the Rakshasas that could happen at any time. You better be ready.
The trouble
so-
is that these things rarely actually happen, right? Like there's
Correct.
an on paper requirement for them, but
Yes.
You know why
correct.
it doesn't happen? Because we have +2 relation with Mr. Rohini.
yes, that is
Yeah.
why. That is true.
Yeah. Correct.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Mr.
cool.
Rohini also
Absolutely.
has a faction sheet. Like he's got a
Yes.
gigantic faction sheet where he marks his faction statuses.
Mhm. So, the last step then is choose a favorite contact, which we have already done.
Yes.
It's Moonlit and Katam.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
And the GM will tell you about 2 factions that are impacted by your ally. One faction is also friendly, the other is unfriendly. You get +1, -1. What the hell does this mean for your mom? This
Oh
is-
man.
What is her
Whose mom
standing with
pissed off?
what is it? What is her standing with the Ketrisi faction? Like
Probably good. I'm
Mhm.
thinking the Ketrisi dispossessed. It makes total sense to start with a +1 with them. They're logical.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh-huh. And -1 with
Scotlanders?
the
Oh,
Lock
I
Porters.
was gonna say,
I think the
yeah,
Lock Porters
those are all
gang.
great.
Yeah.
But what if we had -1 with the Rakshasas because she's done something to piss the Rakshasas off?
I think I like the idea, but we saw the Rakshasas in the previous season. I think
That
it's
is true.
interesting
Okay,
to shift
that's fine.
focus. Maybe
Okay,
the Lock
that's fine.
Porters. They're the
Yeah.
they're a Skovlander gang, right? I think it makes sense that they. I mean, she
Mhm.
runs a boarding house for the Kethrisi. It's just one of those like, you have our
Yeah.
turf.
Yeah.
And so we have the option of keeping these at +1, -1, or +2, -2. So +1, -1 would just be basically the Lockporter dislike her and the local Kethrisi like her, vis-a-vis love and hate.
Hmm.
I like only having +1 with the Kethrisi because it implies that we have to earn that
Yeah.
trust, right?
I get the feeling that
Um,
staying at +1, -1 just kind of makes sense because your gang is not very significant, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
Because
And-
having +2 would kind of imply that like Moonlit is like has such a good relationship and such a good reputation among the Kethrisi that just her being on our side, like gives us a +2, right? Which I
Yeah.
don't think doesn't seem fictionally necessarily true, but it could be. But also I want to work our way up to that. So
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like Ketrisi landlord as well, so
Yeah.
Plus
Yeah.
plus points for Ketrisi, minus points for landlord.
Makes sense. All right.
Yes.
So then we have done our crew faction creation, and we are the Falling Star, the Fursan, and the Lockporters don't like you. The Kethrisi dispossessed kind of like you, and Mr. Rohini is your only true friend.
Yes.
Excellent.
Has any one of us ever met someone whom we believe to be Mr. Rohini?
I don't think so. I think it's been
No,
a
probably not.
paper correspondence.
I was gonna say I like the idea that basically that coin was like Saida's last savings or whatever.
Mhm.
And basically, yeah, that was like a dead drop or something, or maybe like some nondescript person turned up, exchanged a form for something, said thank you very much, and disappeared.
I have a very important question.
Mhm.
Who here in character can read Hadrati?
Oh, I can for sure.
Because I'm not sure if I would. Because, well, why would I?
Yeah.
My character can, because it's important to existing in this town. I think she's picked it up recently.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, wait. Prince, I want to ask you this. Do you think Hadrathi is Aruvian or Uduashan?
So what I think is the case here is that I think Hadrathi has probably somewhat of a similar role to like Sanskrit, right? Like it's the written
yeah.
language universally applies across the board, or Sanskrit, or maybe like Arabic. Like the written language
or
is
Latin,
universal.
right? Like yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that people can understand each other when they talk to each other. There are dialectal differences
Yes,
in it.
absolutely.
So there is
I
like a
that.
standardized written language, but not necessarily a standardized spoken language.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's great, because then I think what maybe my character has learned is like, I mean, they're well versed in the written language, but also they've been practicing the spoken language, like that's spoken here recently.
So I'll establish that I have grown up in Uduasha. I wasn't born here, but I've grown up in Uduasha.
Yeah.
Which means, of course, I speak Hadrati fluently, just as well as I speak Ketrisi. I think I read both very badly.
Yep.
And I think, in fact, most Ketrisi don't read at all because, well,
Yeah,
that's
most of
perfectly
you
consistent.
farmers, so
yeah.
Yeah. I guess we learned that Ketrisi public education is not great.
There's public education?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is to some extent in Doskol and Uduasha, I think, but it's basically just be loyal to the emperor kind of education.
Yeah. I mean, you need it more in industrial cities and so on.
Yeah. All right. So then we have established our lair, our crew, our faction statuses. Is there anything else we want to establish?
Yes, word boss.
We always forget about Wood Boss, so I made sure to remember about it.
I actually have an idea for an introduction of a ward boss potentially in the first score. So we can see whether that happens, or we can establish one right away.
I think we're thinking of the same person anyway.
I don't think so. Who are you thinking of?
I was thinking of Alapana.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Alapana can be your ward boss to begin with. Then we'll see how it goes.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
I mean, with those pearls of wisdom that shall drop from his mouth, why would I not want to serve this man?
Indeed.
Can we?
He's going to be the boss of this. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, can we name episodes after things he said?
Can we name what?
Oh man.
Can we name our episodes after?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, he's your ward boss because nobody can be protected unless everyone is protected.
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, that's how that works.
Should we say for like the listeners who Alapana is?
He's a Ketrisi politician and a man of the people.
Yep.
That's good enough.
But I mean, we don't know anything more about him anyway.
He is a Ketrisi politician. He attempts to advocate for the rights of the Ketrisi in more or less creative ways. This is my interpretation of Alapana, and we are going to see him introduced very shortly because he is going to feature in the very first episode of the House of Endings. Here close the doors to the House of Endings. Those who dwell within are Zoheb, called Klow, Aadiyat, called Zoheb, Soumithri, called Tree, and Emma. I have been Prince, your host. Our city of Uduasha is based on Blades in the Dark by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions, with special thanks to Johnstone Metzger. Follow us on Twitter or support us on kofi.com/desperateattune. If you want to engage further with us, we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/desperateattune, where you will get our newsletter, extra content, and updates from Uduasha.